most of us boys are all mama's boys. We want to know a sport like rugby and actually play that. And we play that sport as a warm-up game in our IPL matches, in our IPL. And it's not a rough sport at all. It's in fact a very interesting sport. It's challenging. It definitely makes you use both sides of your mind.
Is it charged?
Isn't the World Cup cricket is more better in rugby these days than cricket? Because I've seen them over the tours that they play football and rugby. Cricket takes a back seat, and today our results are so shown. Any more questions, please?
Do you think sports like billiards and snookers will, pick up pace in a couple of years? Because in a country like India, where cricket is considered as religion, there are, football fan followings. There is tennis fan following. So, do you really think that billiards and snookers, which is still not in the limelight, can pick up its pace?
Yeah, and again, it depends what you look at. If you look at achievement, as I mentioned, you know how rich in heritage the sport is. If you look at popularity, yes, that's where it is suffering. A few factors. One, the federation can be a lot more proactive. As Mr. Kalyan Ashok said, we need to make a formal structure out of these federations so that it's run like a non-profit business, where they are doing their jobs, they have proper roles and responsibilities chalked out. And they also have a marketing team that focuses heavily on spreading the sport, making it more popular, thinking of new ways. You need a lot of right brain activity to be creative and to make the sport more recognized by people. Make it more accessible. You know, it's actually one of the most economical sports to play. A cue can be anywhere from 500 rupees and can go up to a lakh also, but even a 500 rupee cue, it will do wonders. You just have to go to a place like the Karnataka State Billiards Association. They have special membership for people who just want to pursue the game. 15 years ago, when Pankaj and I started, we were paying 250 rupees per month each, just to play, full day. So we would play 8 hours a day, at 250 bucks a month, 500 rupees cue. So it's about bringing this awareness to the people. Yeah, and for that, the next thing that you need is media. Like Bhakti said, she was very happy with the local coverage she got. But how long did that last? One day? That's it. So while you're really happy with one day, and I'm sure it shows that you're a very content person, there is actually so much more that can be said about this feats like this. Nobody feat that. So winning a world title, do you understand what it takes? What she did. Her sweat and her tears are still there in those oceans. But we fail to find the ink to describe those on our papers or on television.
Now, as a chief mind coach, you notice Bhakti has shown great character, courage, determination in achieving what she has achieved. Right? But we go across the vast spectrum of Indian sports, be it cricket, football, or hockey. You find most of our sports persons to be not mentally strong, not as strong as Bhakti is. They crack. Now, the role and the mind is very, very important. Why is that involved?
First thing, the reason why I don't use sports psychologist and I use more mind coach is because still in India, we attach a stigma to the word psychologist. We think it's only if you're a bit cuckoo up here, then you need psychology. But actually, if you're performing at 75, 80%, what's the harm in making it 90? That's what the role of sports psychology is. So first we have to understand that it's a requirement and that you can be absolutely mentally stable and still go for it. Yeah, and of course, someone like Bhakti, you have Robin. The way Robin played in IPL 3, I don't know how many of you all remember the number of sixes he belted out of that stadium. Yeah, you can hit one big six, you can hit two, but to repeatedly do that, become the highest six hitter in a tournament. So these people are, they have this innate ability to overcome pressure and perform, to convert pressure to performance. But unfortunately, in India, we still believe that hard work will get you everything, and that is why mind coaching is still pretty nascent. Yeah, we don't think that it. As I was mentioning to a couple of panelists before we started this event, that I know this one billiards player. He's probably the most talented player in the world, much more talented than Pankaj, I'll admit. But he just cannot perform in matches. He comes back after a loss and he goes back to the table and he keeps practicing, trying to further better his skills. And you feel bad for him because his skills are immaculate. His knowledge is amazing. What he needs work on is the mind. And I would have helped him if he was not competition for my brother.
Robin, you've been a cricketer and you've seen sports psychologists come on and off. I mean, at one point of time, when I was traveling in Australia, in 1999, 2000, when we lost all the cricketers, we immediately sought a local psychologist to come like the Lakshman and Dravid, somebody wanted to come speak to them, because they were mentally troubled, they wanted somebody to come there. But after that, again, we saw the performance dip. Of late, we have sports psychologists like Paddy. How much does it play?
Well, I think, like Sri was saying, there is a social stigma to the word psychology. You know, sports psychologist doesn't help any better. And being a part of the Indian team, I know for a fact that nobody likes to go to a sports psychologist because they feel so insecure. They feel their whole concept in their mind that they've formed over the years will be shattered in a matter of minutes. You know, the things that they've held on to so dearly will be shattered. There's a tremendous feeling of insecurity. And I think that's why they don't want to, as I'm open to it. And education in this part plays a huge role. You know, when you're educated, you understand, you know, you're growing, you're continually growing. But when you don't have formal education, and what happens, you start holding on to values that have been taught to you as a kid. And you can't let go of those values. And I think that's why there's a social stigma to that word, and you know, people are so insecure about it.
Why as a sports motivator? Why call it a sports psychologist?
Because you can use it like that, but at the end of the day, when they have to come down and open themselves up, that's because she can't work with a player without any. The player needs the athlete needs to share with him so that he can start from somewhere. If there's nowhere for him to start, then there's nothing that he can give to the player. So it's something, I think it's because we're so insecure to open up is why we struggle with our minds.
And also motivators are one-way process, motivated. But as Robert rightly said, you need to give the mind coach somewhere to start with. And actually you have to be really honest with your mind coach if you want some sort of progress.
I've been to a clinical psychologist, I can say this, I've been to a clinical psychologist, and the amount it helped me understand myself. There were things that I was denying to myself, saying, I'm not like that, this is how I function. But as I started opening up this person, the psychologist, I started realizing so many things about myself. I'm like, wow, this is who I really am, this is how I really function, this is why I'm like this is why I'm like that. You start understanding yourself a lot more. But people don't understand it because they think, oh, you only go to a psychologist if you're cracking there.
Any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Actually, I've got two questions. One, I would like to take the debate forward, as Mr. Sri Advani said, about the media and the responsibility. Regarding a very specific incident, a couple of days back, Baichung Bhutia retires. And for me, he is to Indian football what Sachin Tendulkar is to Indian cricket. But nobody talked about him. Nobody is still talking about him. And it had to be celebrated. He had a career that inspired many footballers, but nobody talked about it. I would like to have your comments on it. Another question to Robin Uthappa. I know he said that he won't he won't be talking about cricket, but I would like to ask him a question specifically on cricket. About being labeled as a T20 player, as a T20 specialist, how do you see yourself as a test cricketer in future?
Yeah, before his question is answered, he was talking about Virtue. Now he's retired. Everybody call him the face of Indian football. But unfortunately, today there's been allegation against him by one of the former coaches, Naimuddin, saying he's a traitor. How much does hurt there?
Oh, that's crazy. That can be traumatic for a player. You dedicate, what is it, 16 years in international football? More? In international football, I think 16 years. Today, by the way, he's there in the papers everywhere. If you're worried about the space he's getting, he's got space today. Tomorrow, I don't know. But today he's got. That's my thing. It's a one-day thing. Anyway, so, yeah, that can be traumatic if you're told that you've not served your country. But, yeah, exactly. Now, we don't celebrate these heroes enough. And who is responsible for it? You've got to answer that. Who is responsible? Whatever news you get, you know, today we can be told, we can be convinced that the only news we need to follow is US policy and their $14 trillion debt. And trust me, if out of the 20 pages, 18 pages is given to that, we will all become specialists on US policy. Why? Because that is all that's given to us. We are all crazy about cricket. Why? Because that a lot of it is given to us. Very simple. So the fairness, the allocation based on achievement is left up to the media. Why cricket is going a cash cow? Why? How did it reach that stage? We're talking about as is today. How did it get there? If media was crazy about the sport, they covered it. Automatically you'll make the people crazy about it as well. So, my request is, for those currently in media and those who are going to enter media tomorrow, you have to decide what's fair.
Before Robin answers the second part of the question, I would also want Kalyan to show something on this. There was a time when the media felt, especially the newspapers, there was a lot of negative news coming in the front page. So they went with sports as a relief. And then any positive coming energy coming out was from sports. From an event that India wins a match and then it come on the front page. You answer that thing now.
To be honest, bro,